Taoist philosophy, as I understand it, really is a philosophy based on nature. So you're looking at things more as pluralistic. It's more about looking at two sides of things. And I think when you practice that perspective, you tend to look at things less singularly, less with a biased view. And it allows you to see things more clearly. You can respond in a spontaneous and positive way to that event that's going on around you. These thoughts have been expressed in the West, in literature. If you read any Ralph Waldo Emerson, or Henry Thoreau, they both were, already talking about these things during their period. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about any of that so far? Okay. So we were at 206 BC. We're going to fast forward to 502 AD. So it's almost 700 years later that the martial artists start to realize that this Tai Chi stuff, or this internal Qigong stuff, could be useful. If you've watched any kind of martial arts, there are two different ways that you can learn. There's external and internal. External martial artists develop muscle for power. So if you look at Kung Fu guys, but most importantly, if you look at karate, jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, it's all based on muscle strength. Internal martial arts is actually based on taking the internal energy and you stay relaxed. So what happens is that you learn to actually let that energy travel up through the body into the limbs, and by keeping the muscles relaxed, those muscles act as a conduit for the energy, and it's actually transferring through the body. And that's where you're getting the power from. You do need some muscle, but you don't need as much. So, I've never been like a big muscular guy, and I can't get power through muscle strength, but I know that if I'm smart in the way I go about it, I can generate a lot more power. So Tai Chi is, as a martial system, now we get into the Tai Chi form, which you can see on YouTube. There's lots and lots and lots of videos of people doing different styles of the form. But basically, there's about 26 techniques that exist, but there's 200 applications. So it's sort of like an inverse pyramid where you've got this sort of, you can learn these simple things, but learning how to use them is a lifetime, and you keep discovering. The different ways that you can use these techniques are for pushes, throws, takedowns, joint locks, and cavity strikes. And literally cavity strikes, I mean pressure points, where you're hitting people on these openings. It's a very precise type of movement, but it actually is some of the most damaging and devastating techniques I've seen. Tai Chi Chuan, the literal translation, is Grand Ultimate Fist. It's actually the most sophisticated martial art that exists. And if you see movies, I think Colin Farrell was in one called like Training Day, or The Recruit, I think it was. Whenever they show, military or spies and they're training in the very, very highest level of fighting, they always show them doing Tai Chi, because it's a very, very sophisticated art. So the strategy of a Tai Chi person, even Kung Fu, is not to use force against force. The strategy is actually to yield and redirect. You're neutralizing and you're controlling your opponent. It's based very much on, it's infighting, it's very close, and it's very much based on contact. So once I touch somebody, as they're moving, I can feel shifts in their body weight. I can feel where they're going with that. And as I evolve as a martial artist, as I get more comfortable with that, I can read them faster. And you can feel where the things are going. And as that happens, you're actually intercepting and you're redirecting your energy. And a lot of times you use your energy against them. So there was an instance when I was in New York City. I was late for a meeting. I was at Grand Central Station. And I was running down to catch the number 6 train. I wear a suit. It's 9 o'clock. Everybody is going upstairs to work. And they're hitting it to me, which is fine. And I'm sitting there going, hey, Tai Chi, look, I'm yielding. This is great. But there was one person that I suddenly felt this press, and right where my wallet is. So it could have been a pickpocket, I'm not quite sure what it was. I wasn't thinking about what I was doing, but I just literally expanded and threw him across the stairs and still made my train. So, you know, it was this great thing. And he was screaming at me as the doors were closing, and I had to really think, you know, did I do the right thing or not? But when I had a minute to actually stop and kind of analyze what was going on, I realized that I very much felt a difference between him and the other 40 people I just bumped into. And it allowed me to respond appropriately and save my wallet. But there's another example. Has everybody saw the Super Bowl this year? Giants, okay,
Yes.
The women didn't, the men
I
did,
did.
you
I
did.
saw it.
Great, okay. So the Super Bowl actually applied one of Tai Chi's guiding principles. And again, if you can look this up on YouTube. So we'll go through it play by play. It's the fourth quarter, it's at the 2-minute warning. The Giants were 15, the Patriots were 17. And the Giants were way in the end zone. So their plan was, they're gonna run it down to the first yard line, they're gonna get the down, then they've got one down, they'll get the goal, they'll do the field kick, they're gonna run down the clock. Patriots don't have any time for a comeback. So Eli Manning sets it up, he throws it to Ahmad Bradshaw. Ahmad runs into the mob, and he's expecting to get tackled, pushed, grabbed, whatever. And he saw something he never expected. No resistance, exactly. They all moved completely aside. He runs through, and now he's so overcommitted that he gets to the goal, and he's literally crouched down trying to just stop himself, and he falls on his butt, and he scores. And it allows the Patriots time to try to recover. So we all know how that game ended. But I couldn't wait to share that with my students, because that's not something that you normally see in football. And it's a very, very effective strategy, because that's not what people expect. We're in a society where it's all force against force. So I do some private lessons with managers, CEOs, company owners, things like that, where they need a workout, but they need to calm themselves down. And what we're finding, because I'm an entrepreneur, is that learning this approach actually helps this person when they're marshaling their resources, when they're negotiating, and when they're trying to manage conflict. Because they're not trying to just pound through the situation. They're looking for other ways to solve it. More basic example, and I think this is something that you may be able to try at home this week. So recently, when I was preparing for this, I went shopping with my wife. We went food shopping. And our role is not unlike most. You know, she moves about the supermarket looking for the best food at the best price, and I push the wagon in silent obedience. Right. So we're in the store, we're getting our stuff, and everything's going smoothly. But around the halfway point, this thing's starting to fill up. The wheels are moving more slowly. And I start looking around the store, and I see other people whose baskets are really starting to fill up, and they're pushing these things, and they're lunging down the aisles. And one of the things I noticed is that all courtesies and traffic safety rules go out the window when somebody's got a full cart, right? Everybody's just trying to get through this thing now. And for me, I didn't have any problems, because I was watching how I was pushing this thing when I was taking the turns. I was actually starting to just practice. So I was having fun with it. But the next time you're in a store and you have a full cart and it's sitting there at a dead stop, push it and see how you feel. You know, how do your hips feel when you're trying to turn? How does your back feel? Okay? These are little things. You're shopping once a week, it's not a big deal. But there are lots of things that are going on during your day that are creating these little pushes on your body. And like your mind remembers everything you read or you see, your body really remembers everything that you do to it, good or bad. And those little things really start to add up. You know, as you get older, and we all do, you start losing muscle mass. So any injuries that you might have had that might have been padded over by those muscles are now going to start to reveal themselves again. So you always hear people talk about that old injury that came back. You know, those things are there, and we all have them. But what we want to try to do is minimize what other damage we have going forward. And being mindful about things like body alignment and where we're generating the power can make a huge difference, whether you're lifting a box, you're pushing a door, you're pushing a shopping cart, or you're in some sort of confrontation, or you're being called upon to help somebody who needs it. And we see that all the time here on Long Island. So I think what I'd like to maybe close with is, you know, why do we need stuff like this? We're all stressed out. We're stressed out on our jobs, and a lot of people aren't sleeping, right?
It's like my life.
It's everybody's life right now. And if you talk to somebody about it, what do they say? Just relax. Just relax. Like it's that simple. But if you're training yourself every single day to be tense, and you're giving yourself stress every single day, how can you just relax? You can't just turn it off. You need a practice. You need something that you can go to every day that's going to slow your brain down, it's going to slow your body down, it's going to allow you to pay attention to these minute details of your own movement. And by doing that and focusing on your breathing, and what happens, I literally do this every morning, your breathing and your movement is now starting to move your heart and your lungs into one rhythm. You're synchronizing how your body is moving. You're relaxing your brain. And I'm literally up for a good hour before I even have a cup of coffee. And I feel great. And when the weather's beautiful, you can sit out on your back deck, excuse me, or your back lawn. The sun comes up, the birds start chirping, and life is great. And you're not going to be in a great mood all the time, and certainly I don't go through life with this Pollyanna attitude that everything is great when I know it's not. I can get pretty pissed off sometimes, but I get past it faster, and I put it into perspective faster, and I don't internalize it, and I don't let it ruin my quality of life. And I think that that is of huge value to anybody that decides to practice this stuff. So, you know, I'm in the financial services. I'm attached to financial services. I go to economic forums and I get to see some of the best minds speak about this. And there was one guy who described the 2000s as a century compressed into a decade. You know, we've had 2 recessions. We've had 2 wars. We've had a terrorist attack. You know, we've had more stuff go on in the 2000s than I think any of us has probably experienced in any other part of our lives. And that puts a lot of stress and pressure on us. What I think is really happening right now is we're going through a period of renewal as a society, and maybe even on a global level, because every country that I look at is going through major, major changes right now. So to make it through this period of renewal, you have to be adaptive. And the roots of being adaptive is in cultivating some form of creativity in your life and learning how to move with those changes, learning how to create solutions. When I look around at people that are most frustrated right now, it's because they tend to have a lack of strategy. They don't know how to deal with their lives, and they're getting frustrated. And if that frustration goes unchecked, it goes to depression. And if that depression goes unchecked, a lot of times it starts triggering illness. And then how do we treat it? We medicate. That's all we do. We just medicate it. So people are moving through their lives in this semi-catatonic state, trying to deal with all these stresses in their lives. And I think there's a better way. And I think if you have a way of practicing for solutions, you have a way of practicing a strategy, you have a way of dealing with things, and you're taking care of your body, and you're taking care of your overall state of health, I believe you're going to doctors less. I think you're interacting with other people in a more positive way. And you feel like you're in a little bit more control of your life. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. I have a few questions.
Okay.
Okay, so, not to put you on the spot, Jim, but I thought of you right away. So, how does this relate to like Zen gardens and all that stuff? Because I'm fascinated by that. I know you do that. Is there a connection? Is it two different things?
Yeah, it's absolutely a connection, and it's rooted in meditation. So meditation doesn't have to be martial arts. It can be anything that you do that you really pay attention to. You're in the moment, but you do it without judgment. That's the critical piece. So, you know, sometimes like when I'm on the phone negotiating and I'm home, I read my garden when I do that. It just helps me relax. And again, it's a positive thing. So people I know that are really into gardening, you know how to rotate the plants. They're very mindful of the cycles of nature. So it all goes back to some of the things I was talking about earlier. Very much a relevant thing. Just like Qigong can be riding a bicycle. You know, it could be dancing is considered a Qigong thing that you do. So it's just not always, it may not have all the elements that make it Tai Chi.
My other question was, when are your classes offered?
So I do group classes once a week, and I do privates and semi-privates. The Thursday night classes are at 6:30. I have my cards. I also have brought some articles that are on a range of topics. You please take them, because even if they're not of interest to you, you may know somebody that you think would benefit from it. And it ranges anywhere from college. There's an article in there for college people, fibromyalgia. There's in there. Some that are aging, and then there's even one for musicians. So, take my card. You can call, and I'd like to invite everybody here to take a free class. I'm away for the next 2 weeks, but if you call, you can reserve for the 2 weeks from this coming Thursday, and stop down and just try it. You'll find that the people that are there are just very easygoing, and they love to help. So it's not anything where you should feel self-conscious. I think that after an hour, you could feel better.
Where are you located? Where are your classes?
The school is in the Sunbet Mall in Holbrook. So it's where Betts Highway intersects with Sunrise Highway.
Toys R Us, that's one of the Toys R Us?
Yeah,
Okay.
Toys R Us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Thursdays, what times do you have them at?
6:30.
30?
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great speaker.
Yeah,
Thanks.
good point. His world needs
I want to
Tai
take a
Chi.
class. I've always wanted to try.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's lots of different things.
World is just nuts, I think. That's why.
I have always believed in the power of positive.
That makes a lot of
Because
sense,
it
a lot of
creates a
stuff.
different kind of stuff in your body when you're negative. It really does. I mean, the simplest thing.
Yeah, you're saying about that, yeah.
Positive about it just changes so much.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna check this one out first.
Yeah.
Diane, you've never got
I didn't know there was a place in there. I've been in that place. I don't know where. Like I said, I don't even remember like where it is in there.
I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah. Where in the Sunbet Mall is that? Because me and him were just talking like I've walked through that.
Oh,
and-
if you